cheers, man.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Oh, wow.
I like that.
That or this?
What?
You said I like that, but like, if you say that, it's like, does that mean like the sake or does it mean like something I said?
Oh, okay. All right, Mr. Technical.
Come on, I'm Mr. English here, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an English teacher too.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah.
The sake's really good.
Yeah. So I want to just introduce this a little bit because this is one of my buddies, Yuta, gave me this sake, and it was great because I had to carry it around Kansai. It was very heavy. This huge thing. But it is nice. It's kind of like champagne a little bit, I would say.
Yeah. This bottle's enormous. I don't know how we're ever going to get through this, but we'll take like 3 or 4 videos, I think. So we're doing it little by little. But thank you very much, Yuta.
Yeah. So I want to tell you, 皆さんこれをご覧になっている皆さんは、ライブ配信の時とかコメント欄で、we want to try different sake that you guys recommend. So, なんか有料コメントを残していただければ、その分で、おすすめの酒を購入させていただいて、ちょっと飲ませていただきますので、if you guys have any recommendations, let us know, leave a 有料コメント、and we'll introduce the sake like that, and すごく楽しみにしてます。
Yep.
Great.
Woo.
Yeah. So you've had a very interesting and very busy last month or two. What happened?
That's an understatement. So I had my wedding ceremony. So
congratulations,
I've been official.
You were beautiful.
Thank you very much. I know I was the star of the show.
Yeah.
No, my wife looked great. So we decided to have our wedding in Kyoto.
Yeah, right.
Which First of all, I'll start off by saying Kyoto is a beautiful city. I absolutely love Kyoto. Would not recommend getting married there.
Oh, why? What happened?
No, I had a fantastic time. It's just the logistics of in getting everything set up, and especially how expensive it was.
Yeah, right.
It was a lot of stress.
Yeah.
But God, man.
Where'd you get married?
So we got married at Shimogamo Jinja.
Yeah.
So, nice. I was told by the wedding planner that that's actually the most popular shrine in Japan to get married at.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true because I feel like probably everyone, like in their own city, would be like, "Oh yeah, of course this is the most popular shrine." So maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but it was a beautiful shrine. Yeah. We went in August last year to go look at places, and my wife loves shrines, so we spent like 2 days literally just going to different shrines around Kyoto, and I have to say that's probably my favorite shrine.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you like about it so much?
So one of the things that I really like about it is it's kind of centered inside a forest. So when you go there, obviously there's not any trees on the actual grounds of the shrine, but it's completely surrounded by green. And it's just got this like really beautiful atmosphere to it. Another thing that I really like about it is I don't know if this is true or not, but it just feels really traditional.
Yeah, it does feel really traditional. I liked it a lot when I went there.
Yeah, it feels like I don't know the age of it, but it feels like a really old shrine. Yeah. So it's just got that feeling to it.
Yeah.
And it's just I highly recommend going there if anybody goes to Kyoto.
Yeah, and so because of that, so we've already talked about kind of the differences between weddings in Japan versus America, but now you've experienced your own wedding, and you had a Shinto wedding.
Yes.
I had a regular Christian wedding, right? So I thought it would be great to revisit this topic, and I want to hear about you. So first, like for you, when you think about the way American weddings are done and your wedding, what was like the biggest difference other than like the fact that it's Shinto? Yeah.
I mean, like religion aside, because obviously those are different. One of the things I think was the biggest difference is starting off, there's no photography allowed at the wedding ceremony itself at all.
I was surprised about that.
Yeah, so the idea is you're going into the house of gods, or the gods, and like it's supposed to be a very sacred place, so only people are supposed to witness it.
Yeah, right.
Whereas you compare it to a traditional Western wedding, I mean, they're snapping photos the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so It was a little strange for me to not have photos of the exact moment that my wife and I got married.
Yeah, right.
But it was a really interesting experience. Like the atmosphere inside that room was just like really unique.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. Like I was so nervous. So
yeah, I saw that.
yeah. So okay, so to fill people in on what a Shinto wedding is, because I had no idea what it was until like we kind of went through the steps of it. So there's a lot of parts that are very similar to Western weddings, right? So you gather both families, and it almost kind of looks like a business meeting at first.
Yeah.
Because you have these like long tables on each side of the room, and my wife's family sat all right here, and my family sat all right here. And they're all looking at each other. So it looks like some kind of like board meeting where they're going to negotiate terms for like a merger, which is probably true.
That's what America is. It's a merger.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so they have more than one priest.
Okay.
So there's kind of like one main guy who's a priest, and the difference with him is he kind of acted as the MC.
Yeah.
You know, and so for different little things going on in the wedding, there was a different priest coming, and also they would have, I think they were Michael. Yeah, coming in.
I don't know if you call him you call him Miko?
Or Miko. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Miko's the other thing.
Yeah.
Miko would come in, like, they would assist us with stuff. So, for example, I've never had a Western wedding before, but I grew up Catholic, and I'm pretty sure at Catholic weddings you drink wine. You share the body of Christ, right? And Shinto weddings are very similar in that aspect, where you drink sake. And the idea is like, you know, the parents come forward and you guys all share sake together and stuff. So that was a fun experience. And then you got to say vows, which I did not think that Shinto weddings would have vows.
Yeah, right.
But they do.
Yeah.
And I was super nervous. I've been practicing that. Those you have to read this list of vows, and the vows basically translate to the same thing that you would say at a Western wedding. Like, I promise to take care of my wife, and you know, live a happy marriage, and you know, blah 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 blah. But oh my God, so they give you this paper, and so if you've ever been to like a ceremony for anything in Japan, you'll notice that there's like this folding paper. I would say it's kind of similar to like a scroll.
Yeah, right.
Right. And the idea is you take it out, you read it, then you fold it back and you give it to the person, right? And they have the same thing at wedding ceremony. So I take my thing out, and it's all beautifully written by the people at the shrine. And as soon as I looked at the paper, I just forgot everything.
Yeah, right.
And I'm just like, okay, I guess we're reading hiragana one syllable at a time.
Yeah, right.
It was so, oh my God, man.
Yeah.
I was so nervous that whole time. But I got through it.
Yeah.
I was able to read it.
Yeah.
And so that is one thing that I think is really different between Shinto and Western weddings, because in Western weddings, it's really common practice to make your own vows.
Yeah, right.
And I feel like Shinto weddings are a lot more structured.
Yeah.
Like you just follow the steps.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting to experience.
The thing that I thought was really interesting is I knew that you guys are supposed to take the sake out of the same cup, right?
Yes.
Because you guys are married, right?
Yeah.
But what was interesting to me is like every time that they would pour the sake, it would do 1, 2, not pouring, but the third time is when they would pour it.
Yeah.
You know? And it reminds me of actually like the tea ceremony. Because like when you do the tea ceremony, you're supposed to drink 3 times. So you have to finish your cup in 3 sips, you know? And I'm like, I wonder what it is about that number 3. Because, you know, well, 3 is a big number in Western culture too, you know?
Yeah.
But I just noticed it was always like, nope, all right.
Yeah.
It's kind of very interesting.
Yeah, I'd be very curious about that. I was actually thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you understand 3 as a like important symbol in Western culture because it stems from Christianity, right? With the Father,
Trinity.
Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? And I'm curious why 3 is important in Japan.
Yeah, I would love to know that.
Yeah, so maybe that's something we
Maybe
can kinda,
they can tell us what's the answer. Why is 3 an important number?
Yeah, I would
3
love to
times?
know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Everything was done in sets of 3.
Yeah.
But so after we finished that, it like that day just went by so fast.
Yeah, it did.
Like,
It did go by really fast.
So something else that we experienced is like, okay, so there's a couple steps that were really different. First of all, we got ready in the same place, like in the same room. So like my wife and I, we had people getting like helping us get our kimono on, me getting my hakama on, and we just got ready in the same room. Where that's like real big taboo in Western culture.
Right.
There's a really strong rule before the wedding. The bride or the groom is not supposed to see the bride
Until she comes to the church where she walks down the aisle. Yeah.
So, if you go to a Western wedding, you will see the groom along with the bridesmaids and the groomsmaids inside the chapel.
Yeah.
Where all the people are. And usually he's out there for like, an hour or two before the wedding actually starts and helping everyone sit down and, maybe talking with people before the ceremony starts. You don't see the bride at all.
Yeah.
And then the first time the groom sees the bride is supposed to be when she, like you said, when she walks down the aisle.
Yeah.
In Shinto weddings, it's not the case. You guys are always together.
Yeah.
So we got dressed together. We walked to the shrine together. We did everything together.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed that. It was... Yeah, that was... I have to tell you though, so just being in that room, and they had like the 3 musicians playing like their instruments or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's funny because actually I heard that music that they were playing before, and I didn't know that it was related to weddings, but it was kind of like natsukashi almost for me because I've heard that song before, that music before.
Yeah.
But like, just so I really liked it. Yeah. And I wish I could go to like another Shinto wedding because it was cool, but it's just like, for me, that it really embodied a lot of like traditional Japanese culture, like because actually when you look at a lot of like traditional Japanese stuff, there's actually an overarching theme of darkness in a lot of things. I've noticed this. Like, so when you go to like a ryokan, if you go to a really old one, a lot of the paintings in the room will have like a gold leaf or something on it, or if you go to a place, it'll have like gold on it.
I see what you're talking
because
about.
what that's the reason why that is, and actually this guy who owned a ryokan explained this to me, but it's because back in the old days they didn't really use candles very much, and there was no lighting, so they would have those paintings as a way to reflect the light a bit throughout the room.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and like when I went into the Shinto shrine hall thing where we were sitting, I just felt like it was kind of dark. It was very quiet, it was very calm, and I don't know, it was just really beautiful for me.
It was a really incredible experience. I'll tell you, I'm really happy that I did a Shinto wedding.
I'm happy you did too.
It was such a fun experience. For me, the feeling that I got out of it was I felt really connected to Japan in the sense that this wedding is obviously very different from weddings of my culture, right? But one thing that I noticed is we're more or less still doing the same thing. And I had this big like epiphany moment where I was just like, here I am on the other side of the world with people. Obviously my family was there, but my wife's family is all Japanese. And so people of a culture that's significantly different from my own, right? And yet here we are doing a wedding ceremony where we are doing different stuff, but we're more or less just doing the same thing. And I thought that was so cool. I thought that was so cool that, it kind of made me realize that it's like, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. People still do the same thing. So yeah, that was such a fun experience.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because like so I've traveled to a lot of different places, and my mom used to be a flight attendant too, and she tells me, she's been to places all over the world.
Yeah.
Because she was flying during like the golden age of like flight, whatever. And she said like, yeah, every place is unique, but Japan is uniquely unique.
Yeah.
And I really feel that way too. Like actually, if you had to think of a country that's more different than any other place on earth, I would say it's Japan.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, just personally, because like, I don't know, there's something there, but the more, and a lot of people kind of like focus on the differences, but the more I live here, the more I realize like, we're all just the same human. We want the same things in life. And like a lot of my students, when they finally make friends with foreigners, they're like, oh, Arthur, I realize that foreigners are just like me.
Yeah.
Just people like me,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously every culture has their little quirks, and people definitely think differently in different cultures.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
One thing you learn very quickly when you move to another country is to completely forget the notion of like holding people up to your own standards.
Yeah, right.
That's something I think Japan does really good on foreigners here.
Yeah.
Because if you are a foreigner here, especially if you're a tourist, if once you live here, you kind of lose this rule a little bit.
Yeah.
But Japanese people do not hold foreigners up to Japan standards.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really like big taboos.
Yeah.
That are very easy to break here.
Yeah.
But
like what's one of them?
Okay. Eating on the train.
Yeah. That's a big one.
Or talking on the train.
Yeah.
That is something you will never see a Japanese person do here.
Yeah.
Especially eating. Talking like a little bit less so.
Unless they're kind of strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of train related ones. Another one is like stuff to do with using chopsticks.
Yeah, yeah.
So like you will never see a Japanese person push their chopsticks into a bowl of rice and leave it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
But that's something that like
you do all the time.
I don't do it, but like a foreign person would do it and no one would really care.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Right.
So small things like that.
Yeah.
I think there's a huge difference because if you go to the US, also being an American, you know that like Americans hold everyone up to American standards.
Yeah, right.
Like it's expected, even if you're tourist in America, it's like, no, you should understand our culture and you should act accordingly.
Yeah, right.
So it honestly, like it's kind of nice if you're visiting Japan because it's a very tourist friendly place to go. So I really like that.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I'm part of a Japan travel planning group on Facebook, and like the one comment that you get from people who actually visit Japan is they're like, the people are so polite, the people are so nice.
Yeah.
Whereas like in the States, people would be so rude if you don't do things the right way.
Yeah, and I mean, it obviously depends on where you're going.
Where I'm from, like people are just known for being rude.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think once you kind of get out of the East Coast,
get out of here, man. I agree with you, by the way.
But once you kind of get out of like the urban life, I think Americans can be really, really friendly.
That's true.
But yeah, there's a difference. It's like friendly, but you need to understand what's okay to do here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because like even when when I visited Natsumi's parents for the first time, I was so nervous because I wanted to know the rules. I wanted to know what to do, how to do things.
Yeah.
And so I asked them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, don't worry about it. It's fine."
Yeah.
And I was freaking out because I'm like, "No, I need to know the rules. Like I want to make life easy for you guys. I need to know the rules." And they just wouldn't tell me. They're like, yeah, whatever. What? And like that lack of communication really frustrated me. Because, so like when Natsumi came to my mom's house, or not my mom's house, my parents' house.
Yeah.
First of all, what we do is we give them a tour of the house.
Yes.
So they know where everything is.
Yes.
And then we say, if you want something, feel free to take it.
Yes.
This goes over here if you want to. We don't tell them all the rules at once, but like if they're struggle, or if they break a rule, we'll say, that's totally fine. Normally we put it over here, and it's not like anything bad. But
no.
They just, Natsumi's parents wouldn't do that with me. So I was just like, for the first few times I went up there, I was just like, crap, I am like a bull in a china store, just breaking everything, and they're not telling me what to do.
Yeah. No, I had a similar experience when I visited my wife's family for the first time.
You're supposed to let me pour that for you, man.
I know.
Is this empty now?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I'll let you.
Again, this thing is beautiful, man.
Oh my god.
Okay, we're just gonna leave the cap off.
Yeah, I don't even know where it went.
It went behind you, man.
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry, I'm just laughing at the same time.
That just okay. That just caught me off guard so much.
Dude, that caught me off guard too.
For
myself.
But
so it's okay. You don't have to get it now. It's fine.
So,
and I mean, I just gotta say, so I didn't. So Yuta, I love you. Thank you so much. This was great, but I didn't know that this was carbonated. And so, and I carry this with me in Kansai, walking around everywhere.
Oh my god, man!
And then I put this in the freezer for like 30 minutes because I thought it would get cooler that way.
Yeah.
And so, like, as we're talking, we're just preparing. I'm taking the cap off, and I don't even push the cap, but I take off like the aluminum wrapper, and it just goes. Poof. I was like, man, if my head was over that, I would have had a black eye or something. Yeah.
Oh, man.
But Yuta, it's delicious. Thank you so much.
This is really good. I don't think I've ever had carbonated sake before.
Yeah, so this is actually, I've had multiple kinds, but this is actually pretty good amongst those two.
Yeah.
So this is like go, like this kanji is like means go or something. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, it's from Kyoto.
Mm.
But yeah, dude, we need to go to Orihara Shoten again and just try a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, dude, tell me about it.
Yeah.
After this month, I could really use several days of just having a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, my life's going rapid fire right now.
Yeah.
So we just finished my wedding ceremony last week, and my wife is 9 months pregnant.
Yeah,
right now. So she's actually flying. Well, Japan does it a little differently. Yeah. So they go 10 months for pregnancy. Because like it's considered like the first month is like the moment you got pregnant.
Yeah, right.
And so she's flying back to Oita this week. So she's going to be there for 2 months.
Okay.
I'm going to go for I'm taking time off my work for 2 weeks to go, obviously witness my daughter being born.
I hope you can actually do that. I couldn't go to the hospital for even Leo,
yeah, we've worked it out. So the good thing about having a baby in the middle of nowhere, well, I shouldn't say the middle of nowhere, that's rude, but in countryside area is
in the country.
The hospitals are super empty, and COVID rules have like relaxed a lot, especially this month.
Yeah.
Finally, Japan took away the mask rule.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I don't want to get into it, but man, I hate masks. I'm so glad to not wear one.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, so I'm able to be in the birth room,
or in the operation room, or
whatever
the
room it's
where
in.
Your daughter will be born.
I will be there.
Good.
Probably just being a cheerleader.
Yeah, right.
There's not much I can help. Don't get too close.
She might get angry at you and punch you. So.
Yeah. Well, fair.
Yeah. But dude, so I'm actually to go back to the topics of weddings a bit. So we talked about the Shinto wedding a bit, but we didn't talk about the reception very much. So I mean, you've been to weddings in the United States before, right?
I'm really glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So receptions are just a really unique experience here.
Yeah.
So when you think of a reception, like a Western reception, what do you think of?
So I think people get together to have food and talk with the bride and groom, give speeches, dance, just spend all day there.
Yeah. So like it's kind of just like a big party, right?
Yeah.
And especially you'll see the bride and groom walking around from table to table and hanging out with people, and in Japanese receptions, at least traditionally speaking, they're very, very structured.
Yeah.
And one thing that I will point out that I think is the biggest difference is the bride and groom are not allowed to stand up and go anywhere.
Yeah, right. They have to stay there the whole time.
Yeah, so you have the reception hall, which looks very similar to a Western reception.
Yeah, right.
Traditionally speaking, the family is supposed to sit in the back of the room, but I spoke with my wife and I was like, no, this is the only time like our families are going to see each other, and I want them close. So we made that. We went against tradition and we put our family in the two tables closest to us, which I think in the end was actually a really good decision. But in the front of the room, there's like a small table where me and my wife sat, and people are supposed to come up to us.
Yeah,
we
right.
can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So that was a really different experience. And I did have the bucket. If you know what the bucket is.
The bucket, what?
So so the idea is like all the people in the wedding ceremony will come up and, they want to do like a drink with the bride and the groom.
Okay.
Right. And obviously my wife can't drink. She's pregnant. But so people will come up and drink with me. Luckily our wedding wasn't...
Our weapon.
I don't know why that came out. Our wedding was small enough where I'm not going to get completely blasted having everybody come up and want to do shots with me, but there's a bucket under the groom's seat for people come up and give me drinks, and it's like, oh, thank you.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
so cool. Usually like Japanese wedding receptions will have a bucket under the groom's seat.
Interesting.
But yeah, I didn't need the bucket, so I'm proud of that moment.
You were definitely having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There.
But so it's really funny because the reception is extremely structured.
Yeah.
Right? So we have an MC for the reception, which, I mean, usually you'll have an MC in Western.
Yeah, but let's talk about the MC a little bit here.
Okay.
Because, like, the MC, I feel, is different from, like, what the MC would be in the United States.
Yeah.
Like, do you think so, too? Or?
I don't have enough experience with Western weddings to really have a comment on that.
Well, this is going to sound kind of rude, probably, but the MC at weddings in Japan is basically like a robot. Like, I feel like instead of having an MC, if you just like pushed a button to say the phrases, it wouldn't be that different. Whereas like I think in the United States in weddings, the MC is like a little bit more friendly, or like talks to people or calls people out,
Yeah. I think the roles are different.
Okay.
I think in Western receptions, the MC is kind of like a host.
Yeah.
Right, where they're just like, hey, I'm here to make sure people are having a good time. I'm going to say jokes, and I'm going to try to get people a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more cooperative.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas I think in receptions in Japanese weddings are like the MC's role is to make sure everything's going on time.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So yeah, it was really like, we had to plan out who was giving exactly what speeches, and we had to tell them how long.
Yeah, right.
Luckily, my friend David just said, screw that, and just grabbed the mic and just started giving it, and I'm really glad that he did so, because there was my host mom from when I was a kid. She attended the wedding, and it was a really special moment because we have a really close relationship. We've known each other for a long time, and I really honestly just think of her as a family member at this point. And her husband unfortunately passed away last winter.
Oh, really?
And it's been a really hard time for her, and it was a big thing that she got invited to this wedding. And she gave just a fantastic speech. I mean, I was in tears listening to it. And she wouldn't have had that opportunity to talk had my friend not given the mic to her. So I do appreciate that. But it was really crazy that like it was just like boom, one speech, boom, one speech. One thing that really cracked me up was the candle lighting ceremony.
Yeah, well, I
don't understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't do that at my reception, by the way. So
I have no idea what the meaning of that was.
we light each other's candles and we share our love. I don't know.
So I don't know if that's like a thing that people do in Japanese wedding receptions here. Like maybe some of the people can talk in the comments on that. But so basically the lights all went off.
Yeah.
The bride and groom, so me and my wife had candles, and then like we go around tables lighting each other's candles and stuff.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to sound rude, but I didn't really understand the purpose of that.
Yeah, right.
So,
I mean, it was probably some symbolic thing, but like I
probably.
said, we didn't do that at my reception, so I think it might have been just yours. But
maybe, but it just kind of cracked me up. Like I was kind of laughing while we were doing it because it's just like it felt so. I don't know if rushed was the right word, but it was very timed.
It's very timed, exactly. Yeah.
It was like, okay, we're going to do this now. All right, we finished that. Now we're going to do this. It's like, oh, okay, can we just like chill?
Yeah.
Like, I just want to eat my steak.
I know, right? And you don't really have much time. So,
yeah.
Like, I remember, so at my reception, we didn't have any time to like eat our food. So what ended up happening is we went up to the room to like change our clothes and, well, so not me would change our dress, but they brought our food up to the changing room so we could eat it while she was changing.
I completely understand, man. And I had almost no time to eat.
Yeah.
Like, I think I had 3 bites of my steak. I had a bread roll, and that's it.
Yeah. Right.
And then a lot of alcohol.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you were definitely.
Oh my God.
Up on it, but.
You know, it was just crazy. Like I felt like I had no time to breathe.
Yeah. Well, that's how I felt too.
Yeah.
And like the funny thing is like, so in the United States, right, when you have a reception, you do have a little bit of a structured time in the beginning, but then after
definitely.
a while, it just kind of like phase out and people start dancing.
Yes.
Like one of the big things about receptions in the United States is that the father of the bride dances with the bride.
Yes.
You know, and it's like
and usually the groom will dance with the mother.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like that's a very, very meaningful thing, right?
Yes.
And you don't have any dancing at all.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. I'm actually a little disappointed about that.
Yeah.
Because I talked with Yui, my wife, about this, and you know, for me, I just assumed there was going to be dancing because it's like my idea of a reception. It's like
right.
You have the father-daughter. And so I was talking with Yui about this. I'm like, wow. So, you know, I know her dad's a really nice guy, but he's a really shy guy. And I was talking to her. I'm like, Yui, it's going to be really crazy seeing you dance with your dad. Like, I've never seen him like really be expressive or anything. And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you know, you're going to dance with him during the reception. She's like, no, we're not doing any dancing. I'm like, what?
What? Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm bummed out about that because for me, like, I'm not a good singer or dancer, but I have no shame.
It's just a way to have fun.
Yeah,
you know?
I love dancing just because it's fun. Yeah. So I'm bummed out that was the thing.
I mean, that's a cultural thing, you know, like it kind of goes down to like, you know, things in Japan work so well when you follow the rules and you go down the tracks of what's expected. It's when you do the unexpected that things kind of get tough, which is kind of tough for you and me because we tend to do things that are unexpected. But in one sense, that makes it very easy to live here. But it can also make it kind of hard to live here too.
So I'm glad that you brought up easy because one thing that I actually really like about weddings here is I feel like Japanese weddings are not stressful to plan. Because I mean, I haven't experienced that many Western weddings, but I did see my sister's wedding. This was a long time ago. And she was stressed the whole time, just like freaking out about, you know, one thing going on and the other, trying to like organize everything. And it just looked horrible. It looked horrible. I remember looking at her and just being like, wow, I don't want to experience that. That sounds, she looks like she's not having a great time. And so I was always really put off like actually planning out a wedding because every time I would get those memories of like seeing my sister stressed out about trying to get everything working together. And when me and my wife were planning on getting married back in August, I was really dreading that day of like going to Kyoto and like, oh God, we're gonna have to try like 100 different cakes and we're gonna have to go to all these places and then we're gonna have to talk to people and do all this stuff. But it's like here in Japan, pretty much everybody just goes to a company and has it planned. And we showed up and we met with this lady, and she was the same lady who showed up on the day of and planned her wedding. She's really nice. And she sat down, gave us a paper. It's like, here's 3 options you can pick. Here you do this, this, and just choose one of these 3.
Yeah.
So we chose one. They're like, all right, cool. Now we're gonna go try food. We showed up. There's a chef. He's like, here you go. I made steak. I made salad. I made this. Try it. Does this taste good? Yeah. All right, great. We're gonna do that. And it's like, we were done after like 4 hours, and it was like after that there was nothing left to plan.
That's great, man.
And oh my God,
Yeah.
that is like, why is that not a thing?
Well, because it's like in the United States, everybody wants to be unique and individual. They want to have like their wedding, which just means you have to plan everything.
Yeah. Yeah. But man, it was just completely stress free.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe for somebody who really wants more of a unique experience, maybe that's something that would be very off-putting. But for me, I mean, it's like, I think my wife also would agree with this. It was just like, look, I just want a ceremony. Throw this together, make it look nice. We'll have fun.
Yeah.
And it was perfect for that mentality.
Yeah, right.
And I think a lot of people here kind of feel the same way.
Yeah,
like,
it's just, I understand wanting to be unique and stuff, but like, it's just easier,
Yeah, it's like at the end of the day, it's like, look, make it look nice, make sure everyone's comfortable, and that's good enough.
Yeah.
Like,
Dude, no, I totally get that. So we talked a lot about the wedding stuff. Is there anything else you wanted to share about weddings today?
I just want to talk about the clothes real quick. I want to touch on that. I think
the clothing.
The clothing.
I thought you meant like the clothes, like the end of the wedding. You mean
the actual clothing?
Okay.
I think, and here's gonna be a hot take here.
Yeah.
I think we should just revert back to wearing kimonos all the time.
In Japan?
It just, maybe the entire world should just adopt kimonos. I think kimonos are probably the most comfortable clothing I've ever worn in my life.
Or the hakama? Yeah.
Oh yeah, hakama too. Like, I've worn tuxedos before, right? And the groom is kind of like not really the important person in the wedding, and in a Western wedding, it's the same thing, right? So it's like you're just wearing a tux. And
can I just ask you, why were you wearing the sunglasses the whole time, like with your hakama?
So, my glasses, the lenses are they change.
Okay.
When sunlight hits them and they become dark.
Okay.
So I was just wearing my normal glasses, but because Shinto weddings are outside, the sun was hitting them.
So it looked like sunglasses.
So it looks like I was wearing sunglasses.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny. Like, there were people giving comments like, "Oh, why is he wearing sunglasses? That's so strange to wear." And you see it in some of my wedding photos, especially while we were walking to the shrine. It's like I kind of look like some kind of like nefarious guy. It's like, who's this guy wearing?
This guy up to no good.
This guy's wearing a hakama at his wedding, but like he's got sunglasses. Like, is he part of the mob or something? Like,
Yeah.
But eventually, like our photographer, the guy was super funny. He eventually came up. He's like, it's great. I mean, you look like Yakuza, but like, do you think you could take your sunglasses off for the family photo? I'm like, yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah. Right.
You will see my real eyes.
See, so I thought that those were just regular sunglasses the whole time.
They look like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they're just my glasses. I mean, I just.
Okay. But hakama.
Yeah.
You should wear traditional clothing just regularly.
So yeah, I just want to touch back on that. Tuxedos are not comfortable. I don't think they can be designed to be comfortable.
They're not supposed to be comfortable.
No, they're not. They're just supposed to look nice, right? Yeah. And it's kind of the same thing with suits, but man, like, so a hakama is basically a kimono, which is like the skirt,
pant legs.
Yeah. And the thing about kimono is you're wearing a lot, but it doesn't feel like a lot. everything's really smooth and silky and very like breathable and lightweight, and it's just such like it's like you're wearing like
clouds.
Yeah, I was gonna go with like a comforter and bed sheets.
You're wearing bed sheets.
It's like you just put your bed sheets on and you're just wearing those, and it feels so good, man.
Yeah,
I love wearing it. I could wear it every day and be comfortable.
You know what's interesting about that, right? So like actually, in Europe, like in ancient Greece and ancient Rome and stuff, like the toga is just a bed sheet.
Yeah.
So people just wore bed sheets, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually trade with China brought pants to Europe.
Dang it, China.
I don't know, but they were wearing very baggy pants. We made it really tight, and then tight pants went back to China and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that whole like hakama pant thing started in like China and in Japan. You know? And it's like we kind of took that. It just made it. But no, I agree with you. I think wearing kimono is nice. It's just to get the kimono to look right.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean, not practical to do that every day.
It's really kind of funny you mentioned that, because during the wedding and the reception, both my wife and I had assistants completely dedicated to just fixing our like every minute they would come over and just kind of like adjust stuff. And I'm glad that they did so, because it's perfect for photo ops. But that's something that kind of cracked me up. It's like, man, I feel so famous. Like I have a person just literally dedicated to adjusting my clothes.
Exactly, yeah. Make you look good.
Yeah.
Man, no, but that's great. No, I'm really happy you got to experience that. And, I'm happy that I'm really honored that you invited me and I was able to be a part of that.
Of course. Yeah.
But yeah, dude, it's just... Yeah, we talked about how, like, of course, maybe in, like, Western weddings they have dancing and it's more casual, but there's a lot of special stuff in Japanese weddings, too,
Absolutely.
But, yeah, I think this is a good place to put a pin in it. What are we going to talk about next time?
Well, there's another big thing that happened in my life. I moved to Shonan. And I love it.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about why Austin and I and a lot of foreigners love Shonan and other places that foreigners like in Japan.
Yes.
We'll talk about that next time. Cool. Awesome,
all right.
Man.